Hi everybody, welcome back to the Last Set Podcast, episode 156. I'm here finally with Dylan. What's good, brother?
How you doing? Thanks for having me.
It's glad to have you on because we've been trying to get this set up for the past couple of months.
Yeah, man.
Obviously, you're a super busy guy. You're a dad as well. You run your own business.
Yes.
And then it's Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
And now it feels nice that we can finally.
It's always that funny time at the end of the year where everyone's like, oh, what time works? And you just kind of know it's not going to work into the new year.
That's actually true because also the other thing I've noticed about this time of year is that times move so fast to start.
It's crazy, man.
We're already 2 weeks in.
I know. It's scary. It's scary. And it's like, I had all these things planned and what I was going to do. And next thing you know, you're 2 weeks in and you haven't really done anything and haven't really set those goals you wanted. And now, you got to kind of get onto it because if you blink.
Exhibit A. Exhibit A.
Oh, man, next you know it's Australia Day. Next you know it's fucking Easter.
Oh.
Halfway through the year, the next day you're planning the next Christmas.
Oh my God, you're right. That is. Australia Day is in a couple of weeks.
Oh, it's scary, bro. It's scary how fast time goes.
And January is almost non-existent for most people in this study year.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, welcome. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring you on is because I've been following you for quite some time now. And honestly, I have been very critical of online coaches in my past, but you are one of the few exceptions that I actually honestly love to follow because how transparent and also how transparent is the one word, but also how I was going to say relentless you've been lately in posting out your results for your clients. So let's rewind the clocks because just recently you were telling me you only been doing PT for 2.5 years. Is that correct?
Yes. So, yeah, probably July 2020, I jumped into PTing. And as of August last year is when I just ventured into my own business. Still do a little bit of PTing now, but majority of that is going into the online coaching realm. But I did get my PT cert all the way back in 2012. That it didn't seem like a long time ago until I say it now. It's like 2012. That's, 10, 11 years ago now. So, yeah, I got my certs all the way back then through the local gym, the quick 3-month course. But, yeah, didn't do anything with it until 2020. So I had it for like 8 years just sitting there and finally decided to take the leap. And, I knew that's what I love doing. I'm super passionate, and I think that's where the kind of transparency comes from. In terms of the content I do put out is just super passionate about, fitness, anything weightlifting related and health and fitness related and, competitive bodybuilding related. And I know in this day and age, to come up as an online coach is which I wanted to do. I wanted to take everything online is exactly what you said, man. You have to be relentless with the content, man. And that was probably my biggest struggle and still is just really getting content out. I hated putting stuff out, man. If you go into my Instagram page and scroll back, a month before I started doing online coaching, I barely put anything up. Maybe the occasional gym selfie or the lift. So yeah, man. I've
always, the thing is when it comes to online coaching, I've always said it should be, it's a passage, not a right. I've always been saying, if you're going to go online, you have to really just sort of know your stuff a little bit because you have to coach people when you're not actually physically with them. You're taking away that physical connection that you have with them.
100%.
And you have to make sure you can provide them everything as a whole. If you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the skills, how can you expect to go people online and help them online? And also, I've always been so baffled the amount of people who go completely online without even setting a foot on the gym floor.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, it's like, man, I'm all for everyone having an opportunity to do what they like, do what they love doing, make some money and make a living. But exactly, man, it's definitely, especially now, it's super prevalent, man. Super easy to get your PT certs alone, but then there's no introduction to online coaching. There's no you have to do some sort of cert or some sort of time or reps under the bar or actually on floor. People go straight to online coaching. And not only is it easy just to become an online coach in general, like there is no like, I see, man, young, I'm talking people who've only been training themselves for under a year, and they're straight into the online coaching, and which I guess there's so much that you could take away from a textbook, which you do learn, but man, it's the practical part of it, working in person with people, those conversations with different types of people, addressing their struggles, So, man, communication's difficult enough on an online realm. Like, even me, amongst my clients, some will check in and do awesome check-ins and put a bunch of information. You'll be able to do the most, but some, if they even do check in or complete their check-ins, bare minimum, and their communication back and forth is not there. So, obviously communication probably plays a major role in personal training and coaching, more than even knowing how to actually train someone. Like, being able to communicate with them is probably more important. But then if you can't have that, or you don't have that skill developed, from actually having those in-person conversations, then you're not going to do very well on a behind the texting or behind a keyboard or voice clips. It's not really going to, you're not going to get far, really.
Yeah, that is true, because communication, I think I've had this from a bunch of times, but communication really is the main goal above the knowledge, because you could have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't know how to get it out there, then how can you expect people to follow? To have a voice is like the main thing. That's one thing. That's one of the reasons why I've always I am personally someone who's just, it's difficult. Always found it difficult to post stuff online, really, because it's, I don't know, it's just the way that I resonate myself and all that. I've always been very old school. Conversations and having podcasts has always been my niche now of getting things out there, because that's really, I feel like it's more of a skill you got to develop. Social media it's very fake. It's very, it's highlight reels, you know what I mean? And then when you see people posting their absolute lowest moments, you think, oh God, the last thing you should be doing is getting on social media. So I've always had very negative views towards it. But and I thought to myself, how am I going to get out there if I don't have anything to offer? And that's why I have this, because you can't fake this. Yeah. You can put some clips up, but you can go on TikTok and have the best 10 seconds of every episode. But I always tell people, when it comes to podcasting, if the actual podcast itself that you have is absolute dog shit, then it's not going to grow and all that. And it's something you develop through years and years of practicing and skill. Anyway, so
exactly what you said before as well in the beginning, like when you mentioned the transparency. That's what I try to do. I like, from the outside in, I mean, you kind of look at me, I look like a bit of a meathead, got tattoos and that. But so many times I just have a conversation with someone, and you could, whether it's a lot of the time they actually tell me, they're like, oh wow, I didn't think you were, looking at you, I didn't think this is kind of who you were or how you spoke. Or most of the time I could just see the switch in them going, oh wow, this guy's definitely not, I kind of judged him a bit before talking to him. And the transparency thing, that's why with podcasts and that, and with my content, I like to think I'm just a pretty decent guy in general, just a decent human being. Whether it's a coach or not, away from the gym, like I get along with everyone, man. I really do. I really feel like I get along with everyone. And if I could kind of be transparent with that, and get that person out before showing who I am, so just show who Dills is before actual coach Dills, and I'm probably going to build up that trust more through that as well. And that's why I want to do a bit more of this podcast stuff and talking more, because I think just getting a general good conversation out.
Well, that's great, because you were telling me just before you started that you wanted to start your own thing. I always highly endorse for people to do it, because, well, it's when you're doing a podcast, you're being yourself. That's what I tell people. Don't fake it. Be yourself. It's the best way to get people to understand who you are, because they can resonate with the words you say, and they can resonate with how you talk as well. Whereas, again, like I say, and I'm bagging on social media here, is like you always meet people who are social media personalities, but off camera they're a completely different person.
Man, yeah.
You know, I'm sure you've met people like that before,
Yeah.
because I definitely have, and I've always like been shitting on influencers in the past, where mainly, I'm not going to be sexist, but mainly it's the girls. I've met girls where on social media they want to be like the happiest thing in the world. They want to say they're enlightened, but when you meet them, they're completely there's absolutely no personality.
Sort of highlight reel, man. That's what it is. It's just a highlight. I've met, and sometimes look, I definitely adore myself sometimes, and you kind of social media is such a funny thing, man. It's such a funny, because you will see someone, you will like their post, you will comment on their posts. You might even react to their stories or engage in a conversation with them, as big or small it is. But you see them out in public, you don't know each other. It's insane, man. Like, and it's kind of like, and sometimes it's just like, you know, you just kind of, is it them? Do they know who I am? And but then sometimes you kind of like, the amount of times I've seen people and I'm like, hey, I'll follow you. And I've actually, you know, we've spoken a little bit, and you could just feel the vibes off, and they're not really interested, and you're kind of like, oh, well, you know, it's a different story on social media. Like, we're pretty chatty on there, and in person, you don't. It's the weirdest thing, man. It's the strangest thing.
Yeah, that's good. I've actually had that happen a couple of times. I never really thought about that. Anyway, man, so let's get into the business side of things. So you told me before you started PTing, you worked in, was it mining?
Yeah, so I was in a civil construction. It pretty much either worked with soils and aggregates, which pretty much is what it sounds like. I just messed around with rocks and sands. I did a bit of asphalt testing, which is the roads, and a bit of concrete testing as well. So I was in a lab, the 9 to 5, the high vis, just doing all that type of stuff before I got into any PTing at all.
How long did you do that for?
Man, I graduated, and this is where the age comes out. I graduated in 2008. So I graduated on the Friday, and I went to work on the Monday, man. So
straight out of high school.
Yeah, I had nothing going. Like, I wasn't the smartest in school. I wasn't the most, man, I was the very least athletic in school. I was a drama student. So
really?
And yeah, man, I loved it.
That's awesome.
Maybe, and then that's why I get pretty comfortable, and I guess behind the screen and that, and why I'm super loud and don't know how to shut up. But yeah, I was a drama student. But I love drama, but it wasn't something I could go far in. Like, acting's, it's a different type of animal.
Yeah.
And then I just had nothing in my old man. Just, he still does it to this day. Like, he's been doing it, man, I think since he was 20 years old. So
so your dad does acting?
No, sorry, the mining. He was into the mining and stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's similar testing, civil construction stuff, lab technician. That was my role. And yeah, he was just like, I was like, okay, I can't get a job. School's finished. I need something. And he hooked me up, and I did that. I did that all the way up to 2020. So I started like 2008.
So you did it for 12 years?
Yeah, man. I think I was in 2 companies the whole time there. And yeah, just kind of did that, man. Did that all the way through. I got super comfortable. It was decent money. I lived at home. Man, I lived and breathed the bodybuilding lifestyle. Like, even before I competed, I loved doing that. That's all I did. So it kind of accommodated that, because I was pretty regimented, you know. Smoko was at this time, lunch was at this time, I finish off at this time, go home, go to gym, and it just became that cycle. And I did literally probably for like 10, 12 years, I was just doing the same thing. So super comfortable, and I just didn't want to do anything else, because, you know, I was like, oh, if I move somewhere else, maybe they won't let me eat my meals at a certain time and all that. So did that for ages, man. I was in that industry. I was a lab tech all the way up to when the pandemic hit, and that's when I kind of realized, like, oh, this is what I don't want to do, because the lockdowns happened. It was home and work. That's all you went for however long that first lockdown went for.
It was about 8 weeks.
Yeah.
No, 10 weeks.
So it was just like work, home, and I was like, wow. And I went to a new company. I wasn't there very long, and I thought the grass was greener. So I went to a new company, and it was the worst thing ever. Like,
what was so bad about it?
Man, it was, firstly, it was dirty. I'm a bit of a germ clean freak. So it was just dirty. I'm like, yeah, and it was just I just thought it would be something where I was able to grow and step up, because I was just stuck in the same position. So I was like, I was a lab tech, I was ready to become a supervisor, run my own lab, and that's what it was kind of painted to me. So I was like, yeah, this is what, this is what they got to offer, and I got there and it was just not anything, and I was like, wow, I don't want to be here anymore. And then they were trying to push me to like work, in interstate and that, or not interstate, but go to like, Karratha and that, and I had no interest, man. I had no interest in working away from home.
You just wanted to stay on
soil. Never did, man. Like I never want to do, like, the amount of FIFO opportunities came up, I just wasn't interested, man. I just didn't want to get into it. And then they were trying to push me, and I was like, man, I don't know what to do. The last thing I'm going to do is go back to my old job. I swore I was never going to go back there. I was like, nah, going in. And then I was just looking for the other jobs, applying, and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I had a mortgage and all that as well. So I was kind of like, oh man, I'm in the worst fucking situation ever. And I was like, I hate my job, but I don't want to be here anymore. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Like, maybe this is an opportunity. This is a time to really get back into some personal training, take the leap. Thankfully, I had my girlfriend at the time, or still with my girlfriend now. She was like, yeah, she worked full time as well. Had a pretty decent job.
What does she do?
At the time, she was in injury management and return to work specialist, I think. So she's probably gonna hear that and go, I told you that's not my job. I think that's what she did. So yeah, and but yeah, she was good pay. So I kind of said to her, I was like, hey, at the time I was under, then I reached out to Richard Collins from Physique Code.
Oh yeah, shout out to Richard.
Yeah,
he's come on the podcast before. Great guy.
Yeah, man. I reached out to him to do some PT mentoring, because I know I knew a few people that went through him, and obviously he's been in the industry for years and taken his business really far.
Yeah.
Reached out to him. I was like, hey, but this was like a 6 to 8 month goal, man. I was like, okay, I want to be a PT further down the line. Like, let me build up now. So I was doing mentoring sessions with him, like once or twice a week, and we were just sitting down. I was just picking his brain, what I needed to do, how do I get into it. And then he linked me up with PPS, Physique Performance Specialist, Johnny.
Okay.
So yeah, that's where I was working for a while, and we could get into that because that's how I kind of like sped up my, I guess, like initiation and training into going from PT to coaching, online coaching. And so I just started doing mentoring with Richard, and that was going really well. And then, that 6 month goal of wanting to jump into the PT industry became a 3 month goal. And then that 3 month goal became like, told my girlfriend, I said, I'm probably going to quit this job and I'm going to jump into PTing. And, if you're with it, like, I can't do, like, obviously there's a chance there that I'm going to be unemployed. And, if you're happy to step in and support me for the time being, then,
Did you tell us straight like that?
Yeah, man, pretty much. I was like, hey, if you're on board, I'm going to take this leap because I think I really want to do this. Like, it excited me, man. I was like, I think I'm going to get into PTing, and it's going to be rough. Like, it is, man. Like, PT industry is rough, bro. I mean,
yeah, tell me about it. I'm coming up to the end of my third year now.
And it was just one of those things. And I was like, I don't know how it's going to go. It's probably going to be times when I'm not going to be making any money. And she was all on board, man. She was like, yeah, I got you. And wow. I was like, yeah, she's awesome, man. So I was like, sweet. But then everything just kind of happened like, man, like everything just worked out so well. I saw an ad for the PPS as a coach there. The good thing about that place was you got paid hourly there. So it was like all the clients were provided for you. All the training
they were provided for you?
Yeah, man. So it was like a private facility. So it was like, it was just a perfect opportunity, man, because I was able to not focus on trying to get clients, and I was just able to have the clients pretty much given, like it's a big gym. So they've always got people going in there. I was able to have the clients was able to be provided to me. So I was able to just solely focus on the craft, learning, soaking up the experience, and it's more of a kind of gen pop type gym as well. So I'd worked with various, man, like mums, people over 40, people under 20, people that wanted to compete. So it was just, you name it, man. I had the biggest variety of different clients, different people. So in such a small space of time, I was able to just really learn as much as I could, put those reps in on the floor, do the PTing aspect, did a bit of coaching on the side as well, because there is a bit of an online aspect to PPS as well. And yeah, just man, it just gave me, it was pretty much a whole year of just, and it got busy too. Like I was doing group training, and at one stage I probably had 30, 40 clients directly under me.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So it was just like,
that's impressive.
It was just thrown straight into, the deep end, and you just learn. And I just soaked it all up. And I think the biggest beneficial part of that was I did not have to. And I think this is the thing about PTs now, and I understand the struggle is I didn't have to think about when the next pay was coming in. I didn't have to think about, oh man, I need to market myself. I didn't think about cold leads, warm leads, and getting clients. I didn't have to think about that. My only thing I just had to think about was learning, just taking on this experience, learning it.
Well, it's good. I mean, everybody's story is different in the PT world. I mean, personally for myself, it was like that. I had to take on those cold leads, had to take on those warm leads, had to work the floors, had to talk to people. And I tell people when it comes to personal trainer, it really depends on the environment that you go to. And I feel like you just but I always believe you're drawn to an environment that's best suited for you. And it's great that you actually managed to get that opportunity. But it's really what you take and what you run with it, because now that I've been doing this for 3 years, I've seen...
Is that what you do full-time, PTing?
PTing full-time. Awesome. So my story was really... when I actually started PTing, I was working as a male stripper at the time. Yeah. And that was all about the weekend lifestyle and all that sort of stuff.
Who are you working with?
I can't say, I don't want to say I'm on the microphone, but I'll tell you off the microphone and all that.
No worries.
And then what happened was it just got to a point where it was I didn't see the value in it anymore, because I'd done it for 4 years. I started when I was 18, so I was pretty young at the time. And then it got to a point where I was like, what am I doing this for? It's not something I ever saw long term. I felt like I maxed it out. And then I really took that dive into coaching full time last year. No, sorry, not last year, in 2021. Yeah, in 2021.
It's crazy to think 2021 was last year. Now, that's the thing, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know, just time's moving. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, and then from 2021, it was what I was doing full time, because I felt like if I give this everything I've got, there's a high likely chance that I felt like I could make it. And also, when you're doing something half-assed, you can't say things like, oh, I'm giving everything I've got, because I don't feel like everything you've got is when you're not doing anything else, you know what I mean? And that's the main thing, really. And also, in my time doing it, you see people come and go, and you judge them based on the effort which they give it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but if you're a personal trainer and you're working 15 hours a week at a cafe, how can you expect to, be pushing it, for all those clients in the gym and make more money in the gym and all that when you're working for someone else's business? So that's the main thing. It is a massive swan dive, and you're going to have moments where you make fuck all. Trust me, I've been there, done that. Yeah. But the beautiful thing about it, I can say, is I never point the finger and say, oh, it's because of the economy or it's because of inflation. It is 100% on me. It's my business. I'm 100% accountable, and I can do as I please, or not as I please, but I can do what the things that I dictate myself to do.
You get what you get back what you put in, man.
That's exactly what.
You got to, exactly that. You got to just give it a solid crack. When I was at PPS and I had my own kind of the business on the side, and I started doing online coaching. And I knew where I wanted to be, man. I always wanted to do online coaching too. I wanted that to be the main source of income, as I wanted to. It's all part of it. I mentioned I had a 10-week daughter, or got a 10-week, or have a 10-week daughter now. And prior to that, man, this has all been part of the plan. I wanted to be an online coach because, yes, I wanted to, the time for money. I want to capitalize on that, make as much money as I can, obviously from comfort of your home, and that was that played a huge role. But at the same time, it was like, yeah, you get to help more people remotely, and I knew like family was always on the cards. We always wanted kids, and so many times coming up during when I was in as a lab tech, man, people were so miserable, and the most miserable people I saw were the ones with kids, families.
Really?
Miserable, man.
What was it? Just a job in general?
The job, man. Like, it wasn't a job. No one got into where I was working. No one was a lab tech because they loved doing lab tech. It was just like it was just something that kind of you fell into. And I seen so many, dads and like, I'll be like, cool, man, knock off soon. They're like, nah, I got to stay back. I got a night shift, so I got overtime. I got to do this. And I'm like, fuck that, man. Like, go home. And like, man, I got a family. I got to make the money.
Yeah.
And like, that stuck with me, man. That stuck with me. And I used to be like, wow, like they can't, like they got no choice. Family comes first. That's the utmost priority. So I was like, man, okay, I want to start a family. How am I going to get into a position where I can provide the best for my family, but not be miserable at the same time? How can I do it? I was like, I need to find something. I know what I love doing. And exactly. And then online coaching, man, not only can I make the money, but it's like I'm home, man. Like, I'm home. I do PTing. I think maybe I might do like 4, 5, 6 hours on the gym floor now. I don't do it as much. I barely do it at all. But even those like 2 hours on a day, man, with 3, 4 clients at the gym, like, I'm like, man, I want to go home. I'm rushing home just to see my daughter, man. So it's like, yeah, it was all part of the plan. And I knew where I wanted to be, just what I was getting at. So I was doing a bit of, obviously, still same industry, PT and coaching through PPS, but it was for someone else. It was for someone else's business. I knew what I needed to do. So I needed to take that jump. I needed to go, you know what, fuck it. I'm going, I'm giving it all. Got myself a business coach, jumped in with that, man, and just went hard at it.
Who was your business coach?
Luke Simons.
Hey, shout out to Luke.
Yeah, man.
Top G.
I'm a
big fan of him. Yeah.
Man, look, I've been working with him since Feb last year when I wanted to and still working with him now. And yeah, he's definitely, man, I know there's no one single thing that he taught me that like helped me kind of become get to where I am now, but it was just the accumulation of all the little things. So yeah, man, huge shout out to him, and he definitely got me into a position where I could actually do this full time and do what I love full time, 100%.
In the online coaching world, there's people who, honestly, they're fucking scammers when it comes to the whole taking people online, business coaches, when they barely done any fucking PT themselves, and that pisses me the fuck off, because when you have to pay for these business coaches, they teach you very cliche jack squat shit, and Luke's one of those very few people that I've seen just constantly promote good like content for free. Like, that man should be, the amount of stuff that man puts out on his Instagram that actually helps and stuff that he gives away free is absolutely insane.
Man, they're not far off the stuff that I actually pay for. But it's like, yeah, man, he was exactly, bro, and he's I think is he still a PT? I don't know. I think he might do. Every time we have a conversation, Luke, he always mentions like his clients, and I was like, you talking about business clients, or you talking about, but yeah, I resonate well with Luke as well. The reason why I do is because I've like, for me as a coach with my clients, man, if I don't feel like I'm the right fit, or if I feel like that they're not getting any value out of my coaching, I'm happy to pull the pin. I'm happy to tell them, hey, like, I don't like, even though, and I'm not sure if you're the same. I know many coaches are like, I have obviously a commitment period when people do sign up with myself, and I do expect a certain amount of time, kind of locked in, I guess, before, but man, for the most part, if someone they're not really adhering to the program, or I feel like I'm not providing them with much value, like that 12-week commitment goes out the window. Like I have no interest in hanging them on. No interest in taking someone's money if like they're not going to utilize the most out of it. And I think Luke's a similar thing as well.
That's a very modest approach. Yeah, it's an incredibly modest.
So that's how I kind of resonate with Luke, because I know Luke's very similar. Like if he feels like he's not going to be able to provide value to someone, he's happy to be like, hey man, I don't think this is a suitable fit. Or I think so anyway. And that's how I feel the same, man. Like I want to help. I want to get results for someone. And if I feel like I'm not, like, I could easily just ignore them, man, and take their weekly debit, you know what I mean? But it kills me. It kills me when I swear I won't sleep at night if I'm like, man, this person's not checking in. What am I doing? I'm taking their money, but I can't help them. So yeah, I'm always happy to kind of just to break it off with them first, or just direct them to someone.
What's like a 5-star client for you then?
For myself, it's so I love bodybuilding. I love competitive bodybuilding. I compete myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I competed last year, my last comp, season B, both here and nationals. I went to nationals as well. Did fairly decent. Good man. Haven't won yet. So maybe next time. But yeah, I love competing, man. And I mean, look, don't get me wrong. It lights a fire in me when I got 5 clients going into season A competing this year, which is like I had 2 last year who competed with me. 5 is like I never thought I'd get that many at once, but like that lights an absolute fire in me, man. Like doing that sort of coaching. They're real easy, man, as well. Like anyone's a serious competitor, you just give them kind of what to do, when to do it. Obviously for the short term, because they're going for a certain goal. You know they're super easy to coach, but you know they're nothing more rewarding than actually changing someone's life. You know what I mean? And as cliche as that sounds, but I mean the 5-star client for me, man, is I tend to probably work better with people that are more experienced.
Okay.
You know, someone that has been training for a while, they already have kind of the motivation's already there. You know what I mean? So many people I've had consults with, and I'm like, what do you want me to help you with? Why have you contacted me? And now it'd be like, oh, I need the motivation. I'm like, ooh, I'm not your coach then. You know what I mean? So I'm not someone that provides the motivation. So generally more experienced individuals that, you know, they've got the motivation, they've got the desire, they just don't, you know, they need the direction, they need the guidance. You know, I want to, you know, ideally just take someone's physique to the next level, but do it in a way where they can actually enjoy it and take it with a sustainable approach. You know, I always like to say, like, I want to just meet in the middle with, like, what's optimal, what's going to get them the best results, you know, whether that means the rep ranges or, you know, how often to eat, but obviously merge that into what's practical. So, yeah, just someone that's just motivated, man. Like, they're willing to learn, they're willing to be consistent. I love, you know, I encourage them to ask why. You know, if I've changed something to their program, I want them to ask why. I love having conversations. You know, I want them to pick the brain. So, yeah, man, people that are just really that are in it for the long term, man. They want the long term change. They want to learn. They want to learn the tools. They're interested in learning the tools. You know what I mean? Yeah,
well, that is correct. And those ones, I felt like, do you feel like they're a little bit hard to find, the people in the long term? Because in this day and age, we're living in a world where
so much information now.
Yeah, and our attention span's actually that smaller and it's shrinking. I'm reading this really good book at the moment called Stolen Focus.
Yeah.
And about how over the years technology's actually shrunk.
That's me, bro.
Yeah.
I have the zero attention. I'm the worst, man. I got no attention span.
Yeah, I understand. Like that made, what is it? I honestly feel like TikTok was the biggest like game changer for a lot of people when it came to attention span, because you could learn, someone told me, you could learn something that people spend absolutely years dedicating their lives to studying in the space of 6 seconds. And I never actually thought about that, how quickly that's possible. Because like years ago, if you wanted to learn someone, you had to go out and ask them, you know, you had to go out. and to the library.
If I could read a book.
Yeah,
exactly.
but now it's like 6 seconds like off my phone. If I wanted to learn how to squat, I could just go on TikTok,
Yeah,
squat,
man.
you know.
How much protein do you need? That's it. There's no
Yeah.
Google. It's right there.
And because of that as well, there's never been more argument. Now that to actually get like the actual factual, like what the actual fact, like the actual way how to do something, what was used to be just one way is now 100 ways.
Yeah, man.
Like people now, like you said about protein, everyone's arguing about protein.
Yeah.
Now, how much protein, if you're going to eat, how much do you need if you're this or if you're this or you're that, or, you know, it's not like 2 + 2 = 4 anymore. It's like 2 + 2 = whatever the fuck you want it to weigh.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I try, like, that's who, and just kind of go back to when you said, you know, what's your 5-star, like that's what I feel like my role is, like, because there's that much fucking information out there. There's 1,000 ways to skin a cat, if that's the saying. I think it is. I don't know. I think that's the first time I ever used that. It sounded right. But yeah, it's like I want to be. My business name is Simplified Transformations, Tran, as in my last name, Transformations.
I like that.
And I was like, and that's what I just want to do. I just want to simplify it for someone, because I know for myself, like, I have a coach myself who does everything for me.
Oh, who do you work with?
Joey Cantlin. He's over in Brisbane. He's awesome, man. Yeah, I've been with him for 73 weeks. I only know that because that's how many check-ins I've done. But yeah, he's just awesome. He's wicked. I went over there, met him for the first time when I competed at nationals. We just got along, man. We're homies. But yeah, I want to be, just to make it simple for people, because there's so many, like, and you know, how many times you caught up with a consult or with a new client and they've sat there and be like, oh, but I heard this is this,
oh my god,
and you're like, like, I'm here to eliminate, like, delete that, like, you don't need remove that from, so and that's the thing, man. Like, I know for myself, like, the reason that's what I say, the reason why I have a coach, because if I get caught up, like, trying to make the perfect program, trying to make the perfect meal, like, you know what I mean, so I'd rather just give it to someone, put it as simple as possible in front of me, and you know, let me follow that. There's just so much bullshit out there, bro.
You have to navigate them. You have to be that. I think someone said to me, you have to be that lighthouse in an absolute shitstorm for them. Because have you ever had, like, clients that come to you and they just say something like, oh, this person told me says to do this, and then you find out who they are, and they're actually someone who's like big, like hundreds of thousands of followers. Like something like, oh yeah, this person told me to eat only 1,200 calories a day. I hear that, I'm like, what the fuck? And then I go to this person and they're certified, and I'm just like, how the fuck does this person make all that money just selling off bullshit?
Or even that, like, similar to that, or when you get a new client, and obviously won't name any names, but the amount of times I've got someone that's come from a different coach, and they're like, oh, this is what they had me doing in the past, and I'm like, well, fuck that off. Let's try this instead, and you'll probably have a better time. And then you go check out who their coach is, and they're huge. Their following's huge. They're you know, they got, like, obviously, you know, they're doing well with money. They like to post their stuff, you know, their cars, and they're always on holidays. I'm like, fuck, these people are getting paid for their shit information.
I know.
It's ridiculous, man. It's and, like, in this day and age when it is social media and what plays the biggest role in picking up clients, like, that's what they're going to look at first, man. How many followers this person has, you know, who else is under them. So yeah, it's ridiculous.
I've always found now that the people who are the most authentic in this industry are the ones who survive the longest. I always say, whenever I see one of those, like, certified, blue check, trainers, and they got all this, I'm like, I don't really actually think they're going to last. Like, the best example I could give to everybody is, if you're going to do this job correctly or you do it incorrectly, you're going to end up like Brittany Dawn. Do you remember who Brittany Dawn was? No, Brittany Dawn was this influencer. She wasn't actually even, I don't actually know, I might need to fact check that, but I don't think she was actually legally allowed to give out fitness advice, and she was selling these.
Most people aren't.
Yeah,
it's crazy to say.
But she was big because she had a big social media following, because everything was filtered, everything was, like, you know, super glamorized.
Yeah, of course.
And she was selling cookie cutter programs, and she had a website, and because she was pumping to social media so much, she sold all these cookie cutter programs and said they were going to be customized, but they weren't. They were literally just like 8 weeks this, 6 weeks that. And she sold an insane amount that it was literally almost impossible for her to actually give them what they asked for. So she lied about what she was asking for, and everybody was getting the same, and it was something so basic and so simple. And then what happened was she had a class action lawsuit against her.
Oh, wow.
And she got sued for an insane amount of money because not only didn't she tried to get refunds, but she refunded them half the amount of what they paid for. And she didn't limit her website or anything like that. And so she went to court. So I'm just saying, guys, you have to be completely transparent. You have to be authentic.
Yeah, man.
Otherwise, you can end up like Brittany Dawn. That's what I say.
Hey, look, look, I'm not gonna lie. If I didn't say that, didn't satisfy me hearing that.
It satisfies me so. But here's the problem, though. It's what's the best way I can say? If you lie, you're gonna get caught. If I know anything about what last year has taught me, is that truth will always come out, and that was the first lesson. Obviously, of things like Liver King, and, the Johnny Depp case.
You said before, man. Like the ones that are truthful, the ones that are authentic, they last the longest, and that rings true, man. Like I would rather, just put out authentic programs, content, whatever out there, be super transparent, and if however many clients you may get from that, they're going to hang around, and then people that kind of had the eye on you, they might go to someone else, but they're going to come around eventually as well, because they're going to go to someone, a coach or whoever, that they saw what their content was saying, that they might have resonated with them at the time. Then they go under their wing, and then it turns out to be not quite what they wanted. And then, they eventually will gravitate towards someone that is truthful and authentic and transparent. So
how do you, I know this might be such a weird question to ask, but I'm just thinking maybe the audience might have this on my mind, because we're talking a lot about being transparent. How do you do that? Do you have like a little bit of an example of how you can do that? Do you, let's say, for example, if you wanted to put out a piece of content, how do you go about doing it?
Firstly, if you're putting content out, it has to be of value to someone. It has to resonate. It's a lot of my content comes from two things. One, obviously the ideal client that I'm trying to target in order to, the ones exactly like the 5-star clients, so who I work best with. And two, man, they generally just come from real life problems, from check-ins anyway. And I'm sure many coaches who put content out there would agree and do the same thing. Like you just put out what is, you say you get a check-in from a client and what their struggle is for the week, man, 90% of people of Gen Pop anyway are going to have the same struggle. So, that just being able to put their struggle not on blast, but on into some sort of content, some sort of words, so that you could, one, help them out and just help out anyone else that was having the exact same issue as that. So yeah, just like putting content out with a purpose, because at the end of the day, man, it is just providing value. So if you're able to provide value to someone, whether you're speaking to a client, whether you're speaking to a lot of my stuff I put out is, especially in the early stages when I was really pumping the content out, was I was trying to think of what I struggle with the most. I was trying, as if Dylan was asking the questions, hey, how many sets do I need to do to really target this and that? So, I was just trying to aim my content towards the questions I had that I struggled with when I was coming up and I guess that's probably the best way to be as transparent. Was I was trying to speak to a younger version of myself who had no fucking clue what I was doing, still don't. But yeah, had no clue what I was doing, and I was trying to help me out. You know, when I was kind of coming up in any situation, whether it is the gym or life or whatever.
Yeah, well, the best piece of advice I ever got on this podcast was when someone said to me, no one really ever knows what they're doing in life. They're just going off their best guess. Exactly. And throughout human time, we've always been wrong. That's what I've said. Like, if you wind the clock back like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I don't know how long it was actually specifically, but there was a time in human history where we thought we could cure depression by putting fucking lobotomizing people. There was a time where women thought they could reverse aging by putting dog pee on their face, and like there was so many things that we were so wrong about so long ago, and we are constantly wrong about things.
Yeah.
But as we progress, we're just going to be a little bit less wrong. So when we go like 30 years into the future, we're going to look back and be like, holy fucking shit, they actually did that shit. Like, you know.
You did TikTok videos?
Yeah, what the fuck? Listen, man, this is a funny thing I always say. When I grow old one day and have kids or grandkids, I'm going to tell about the year 2020, and they're going to be like, holy shit, you know, all the crap that was going on in America, the pandemic, the threat of nuclear war. How did you survive? And I was just like, I just played Call of Duty with my body like it was nothing. I
just did my usual stuff, man. I binged Netflix and got through it all. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's I think about it now more than ever, now that I have a daughter. And I'm like, man, what's life going to be when you're 10, when you're 12? Man, I mean, you mentioned you were 24, right?
Yeah, I'm 24,
yeah. Yeah, like even when I was 18 and I was working, we didn't like the first Samsung and the first Android phone, the first iPhone wasn't out yet. Like that's how far back.
Right, like, wow.
So I was
tell me that, I'm like, oh shit.
That's the craziest thing, man. So like I was buying newspapers and reading them. Like
old school. Nice. I like it.
And now look at it. Now it's the time where I'm on Instagram and I'm, you know, that's where my business is run, is 95% of social media.
Nice.
Which is pretty insane.
I gotta ask, man, what's it like being a dad?
Man, it is, as cliche this will sound, it is the best thing in the world. Mine is it's hard. And it's look, I definitely, in terms of like dad duties, one, I'm an online coach, I work from home. So I'm home more. I'm able to be there more. I'm able to bond more with my daughter. I'm able to bond more with my partner. And two, like, and I've also built a gym at home as well.
Oh wow!
So I've kind of eliminated two things that I guess create much more struggle for parents. One, the dad always or most of the time not being there, having to work, and two, you will see a lot of dads, man, they just drop off their health and fitness because obviously, and I could definitely understand why to an extent, why that is. It's just time and just wanting to help out more at home where, you know, I'm able to do both from home. So yeah, in terms of that, like I'm in a very good position to be there more, but if there's one thing that I'm learning is patience. I definitely don't, you know, I don't, my partner's a much more patient person than me. But man, you can't get any better. There is that shift in life where nothing else is as important as your kid.
Wow.
So yeah, it's crazy, bro. It's fucking crazy to think, because I look at her every morning and I'm like, what? Like, you came from me? What?
Yeah, you're like, I made that.
Like, I'm a kid myself, man. I can't believe it. Like, I feel like I'm a kid. Like, I'm 32 this year, and that spins me out. Because I feel like I'm a kid. I've childlike humor. You know, I try not to take anything too serious. I fuck around a lot.
We still laugh at dick jokes.
Yeah, every day, man. This is gonna rein me in every single time. I'm a clown, bro. I'm a clown, and it's crazy to think now, like this clown, this guy is like, man,
You got a little clown now.
Yeah, now I've got this clown of a father. Has got a father. This young child. So, yeah, man. But it's awesome. I don't know if if you're planning on having kids or anything.
Oh, well, eventually one day,
Yeah, man. It's all been. I've always wanted kids, bro. Always. I said 30, and I've always wanted that. So
that's awesome.
I put the plans in place in terms of job and house and the gym. Like I was like, I'm gonna build a gym at home, so I could be at home more. But yeah, it's the best. I still wake up and it doesn't feel real. It's definitely something that I love doing. Yeah.
Do you feel like when you had, what was his daughter's name? Sorry,
Layla.
When Layla was born, did you feel like, oh, now I have I have a massive purpose?
Oh,
purpose
man,
and a will to succeed for her.
The drive, bro. It's that. And it is, and like I will apologize to all friends and family that I've probably neglected over the past 2-3 months in terms of catching up and cause. But man, I hope they understand, because it's that, like, as much as my business has grown and where I'm at now in comparison to where I was at this time last year is huge, you know what I mean? And like, don't get me wrong, my business is not full, like, it's nowhere near where I want it to be. And until it gets there, I will be still locked in the office. I will be still, being real shit with replies to messages. I probably won't be catching up with most people, as much as I know that's my goal this year, is just to build better relationships. And but yeah, it's exactly what you said, bro. Like, it's no longer. I'm not doing this for myself anymore. Like, ultimately, like, the work you put in now is to set her up, and it all comes together. The work I get in now means I don't have to put in the work later. I could be there more. I could be a dad more. I could provide more. I'm a spoiler, bro. I'm a fucking spoiler. Whatever she wants. I know people are. I'm a spoiler when I want to be able to buy her what she wants. I say that now, but yeah, it's exactly, bro. It's a whole different purpose, man. Whole different purpose, and exactly like the drive to succeed, man. It is, and I'm a bodybuilder as well, bro. So that mentality is in me. Like, I will succeed. Like, I will be successful. There's no other choice.
Do you feel like maybe when she starts getting into, oh God, I don't want to make you sound old, but when you start going into your 50s and she's nearly 20, in her 20s, she's like, what does she? I know it's scary to say, but when she comes to you, she's like, Dad, I want to do a bodybuilding competition. You're like, yes.
Oh man, I know. Like, I said to me and my girlfriend Courtney, we said we're going to put her on 3 things when she starts. One's going to be ballet. One's going to be gymnastics, okay. And then some sort of I'm tossing up still BJJ. I know you do jiu-jitsu yourself, or taekwondo. Something where it's just like not too much where she's going to get brain damage. Jiu-jitsu, I don't really want her to have banged up joints by the time she's 20, 30. But they're the 3 things, man. Like that, she's naturally going to be into the gym. I know that because that's how I got into it. My dad was a gym fanatic. And I loved it. Looking back as I was a kid, I used to think he looked like Arnie, man. I was like, my dad's Arnie, and he's a small Vietnamese man, so he's probably 75 kilos max. But yeah, man, like I probably one of the biggest reasons why I got into gym, because I saw my dad get into it. So I know inevitably she's gonna be doing the same thing. She's in the gym now, bro. That's how we get our training sessions in, bro. Like, she just sits in the corner in a bouncer while I'm sitting there screaming my head off in the gym. So yeah, she's gonna be into it for sure.
Awesome. So I'm sorry, remember, that's all the time I've got for today. But guys, if you are listening and you want to follow Dylan or you want to start working with him, Dylan, how can they find you, bro?
Probably find me on Instagram. It's probably the main. So Dylan Tran, just one word, DYLZTRAN. That's my Instagram. That's where all the kind of business content's on there. Or see a bit of Layla as well. I like to flash some good content on that page, and I guess my website as well is www.simplifiedtransformations.com.au. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure. I could talk for fucking hours. I'm not lying,
man. That's awesome. Well, the thing is, when it comes to podcasts, I've always told people the less talking I have to do, the better. Because
yeah, I'm glad, bro. I hope so. I'm like, I'm gonna walk away and go, fuck, I talk too much.
Yeah, because this is episode 156.
Wow, good work, man. Awesome.
Oh shit, yeah. My audience knows everything fucking there is to know about me. And it's always the guests I always want to promote. So, thank you very much for this, man.
Thanks for having me. Let's do it again sometime.
My pleasure. Good luck for the rest of for this year, man. And also, of course, hopefully, if when you get your podcast going, man, all the best for that too. All right, guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much for listening. All the best for the rest of January, and I'll see you soon. That is game.